Welcome to Hidden Horizons, a channel where the overlooked chapters of world history are gently uncovered. Here, every story invites you to wonder what might have been, offering mysteries and lessons from the past. If these journeys inspire you, consider liking and subscribing to support new stories as we shed calm light on forgotten crossroads and the echoes of civilizations lost to time. In this video, we explore a land both familiar and mysterious, a region poised to be the heart of our world until fate intervened. Through calm narration, journey with us to the threshold where ancient cultures mingled. We'll unravel how destiny, chance, and circumstance quietly reshaped the course of modern civilization, setting the stage for a story seldom told but never entirely forgotten among the stones and the mist. Chapter 1. The Liminal Threshold. Dawn breaks upon a landscape shrouded in pale mist, where fields roll gently to forgotten horizons. Here, at the very edge of two worlds, civilizations met, spoke, and faded into legend. As the soft sun diffuses through distant fog, imagine footprints lost beneath centuries of earth and grass, echoes of voices carried away by morning winds. This place, neither wholly east nor west, invites us to listen. Our story begins where time feels unanchored, where the shapes of vanished cities linger only as subtle undulations in the soil. The mist hugs the ground, erasing boundaries between what once was and what endures. You might sense the weight of unspoken history, a hum beneath your feet. Here, silent stones hint at crossroads that shaped hopes and destinies. It is a realm at the cusp of memory and forgetting, inviting gentle exploration. Imagine standing at this threshold as the world slowly wakes. Birds call from hidden thickets, and the air holds a chill of anticipation. The landscape feels suspended, caught between possibilities left behind and futures never claimed. As you breathe in the cool dawn, spirits of traders, wanderers, and kings mingle in the fog. The ground beneath whispers stories of power, longing, and paths not chosen in the great sweep of time. Beneath your feet, layers of history hide among tangled roots and broken pottery. Fragments of forgotten villages come alive in imagination. The air holds secrets heavy with the weight of what once was poised to become. The liminal threshold teems with echoes, a meeting place for wandering herds and merchant caravans, lost languages and vanished names. Listen closely, and you might hear the murmur of destiny nearly set in another direction. Few now remember the quiet power this crossroads held, a silent promise as old as the sunrise. Here the lines between empires blurred and new beginnings became possible. It was a land of both welcoming and warning, open plains meeting dense forest sand, all who passed through brought change. The stones, settling deeper over the centuries, still remember the footsteps of those who imagined this place as the world's gathering point. There is something ancient in the way morning light glimmers through drifting fog, illuminating small relics half buried in the earth. Lost coins, shards of painted ceramics, a broken blade they each tell a part of the crossroads story. As the mist retreats, the landscape reveals hints of roads that once converged here, vital arteries of civilization that paused at this quiet fulcrum, where the course of history nearly pivoted in a new direction. Let your mind wander gently, tracing the invisible lines of trade, migration, and encounter. In these early hours, every stone and shadow speaks of chance how. A single moment could change everything. This place lingered at the edge of greatness, brushed by the ambitions of empires now dust. The soft hush of dawn cradles untold choices and gentle what-ifs, inviting us to reflect on the fragile balance that shapes destiny. So, as we begin our journey through this chapter, hold close the sense of wonder and mystery that lingers here. The liminal threshold is not simply an old crossroads, it is a mirror reflecting both presence and absence, paths found and forsaken. As the story unfolds, we will peel back the layers of time, seeking to understand how this misty land nearly became the center of all, and why fate led the world elsewhere. Chapter 2. Echoes beneath the earth. Beneath gentle hills and tangled roots, secrets slumbered, waiting for curious hands to set them free. In darkened pits lit by the sun's careful angle, archaeologists brush away the soil, revealing pottery shards with ancient fingerprints. Each find whispers of a person who once stood here, a silent testimony embedded in clay. These are the clues to vibrant lives long vanished, rediscovered piece by careful piece by careful piece. Obsidian blades gleam under trembling sunlight, their sharpness undulled by centuries lost. Crafted from volcanic glass, they hint at journeys across rugged landscapes, for obsidian is born only in fire. To possess it was to hold both art and utility, a treasure shaped by practiced hands. Alongside these, intricate ornaments emerge, delicately carved, reflecting both ceremony and daily life. Every artifact unearthed draws pottery fragments swirl with painted pattern spirals, dots and lines recalling rituals and meals shared around flickering fires. Each design holds meaning, reflecting a culture's connection to land, sky and stories. With every shard, the past steps closer, as if these ancient families wished for their memories to find breath once more. Excavators pause, tracing fingers across the faded lines, mindful they cradle the earliest echo of civilizations. Song. In these layers of earth, time seems to fold. The ground is both barrier and archive, holding echoes from thousands of years. Every delicate brushstroke uncovers more than objects. It uncovers more than objects it uncovers choices made, migrations taken, and patterns of living that shape the region's destiny. Underneath each artifact lies another mystery, another unanswered question. Who were these people, and how did their stories ripple forward? As the archaeologists work, their quiet conversation mingles with the hum of insects and the distant call of birds. The atmosphere feels thick with reverence and anticipation, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. One remarkable finder, ceremonial carving stirs the whole team, its intricate patterns unlike any seen before. Such discoveries reveal moments of innovation and individuality, hinting at the depth and diversity of the ancient culture that flourished here. This land was not simply a crossroads, it was a cradle, nurturing the ambitions and dreams of generations. The artifacts hint at bustling settlements, skilled craftspeople, and networks reaching beyond the horizon. Trade beads fashioned from distant seashells, evidence of contact with faraway civilizations, suggest that these early settlers were never isolated. Even in antiquity, the world was larger and more connected than it might seem at first glance. In the flickering light of evening, the dig site transforms into a landscape of memory. Shadows stretch over excavation trenches, blurring present and past. The archaeologists tuck their discoveries into padded boxes, treating even the smallest artifact with respect. Each object, no matter how modest, carries traces of ancient hands and untold stories. The day draws to a close, but the journey through these layers of history is only just beginning. Maps are carefully marked, and notebooks filled with measurements, sketches, and quiet observations. This is detective work on a grand timescale, requiring both precision and imagination. The deeper they dig, the more patterns emerge. Habitations clustered along rivers, burial grounds marked by cairns, ceremonial centres rising from natural hills. Each new detail gently shifts our understanding, questioning what we thought we knew about the region's ancient inhabitants. The echoes beneath the earth are more than remnants. They are invitations to wonder. Every fragment of pottery, every beveled blade, asks us to imagine the laughter, the struggles, and the inventions that once animated this ground. Through the committed work of archaeologists, a narrative emerges where silence reigned. The earth gives up its secrets, and the ancient world is heard once again, softly reverberating through time. As the chapter closes, we step back to regard the full mosaic revealed through these excavations. The findings are not just historical curiosities, but vital threads in the larger tapestry of human civilization. What began as isolated relics has grown into a portrait of a people whose patterns and stories would echo through millennia, shaping not only this land but the broader currents of world history, inviting us ever deeper into hidden horizons. Chapter 3. Currents of Trade and Tongue. Imagine a time when caravans snaked their way through these ancient valleys, each step stirring the dust of distant lands. Silk, spices, and glimmering gems exchanged hands as languages mingled in the air. With every trade, a new word or story entered the marketplace, painting each corner with echoes of far-off kingdoms and dreams. This was a place where difference became possibility. The marketplaces here were more than places of commerce. They were crossroads of possibility. Fabrics from the east collided with metals from the west, forging connections between worlds. Traders and townsfolk alike gathered as much for the bustle of news as for the goods. In the fragrant shade of canvas stalls, simple exchanges quietly redrew the boundaries of what was known, inviting strangers to become neighbours in story and trade. A merchant might arrive speaking in riddles only his native tongue could untangle, yet leave with fragments of new dialects humming on his lips. Here, words became a currency nearly as valuable as gold. An overheard greeting could ignite curiosity about distant monarchs or forgotten lands, and each negotiation was itself a small lesson in trust, subtlety, and the artful turning of phrase. Communication became a shared journey. The scents of rare spices and smouldering incense carried stories across the wind. One could trace the origins of a peppercorn or a bolt of cloth back to far-flung riverbanks, simply by asking the right question in the right tongue. Through these lively encounters, villagers learned to listen closely, to sense hidden meaning, and to savour the way language shapes the world. In the hum of barter, imagination thrived. For young apprentices and travellers alike, every visit to the bustling bazaar was an invitation to grow. They would watch, wide-eyed, as ring-clad traders haggled fiercely, only to burst out laughing at the turn of a familiar word. Each evening, memories of foreign tales and gestures drifted back home, shared over bread and tea. These exchanges became the seeds of hope and ambition for generations yet unborn. Within these winding alleys, merchants did more than sell. They taught the art of perspective. The arrival of every caravan whispered of lands where the sun rose differently, where rivers redrew what maps insisted. Stories were woven into goods, and goods shaped the stories people told about themselves. Knowledge passed not by decree, but through laughter, debate, and moments of unexpected kindness. Culture quietly blossomed with every exchange. By lantern light, elders would reminisce about days when the market's roar echoed from the stones. Their voices steady, reflective would recount how trusting a stranger with a rare word or an unfamiliar dish grew into unexpected friendships. Through laughter and learning, each generation found new ways to turn differences into strengths. The current of exchange never stilled. It shaped the soul of the region, patient and bold. And as empires rose and fell, the marketplace remained the heartbeat of the valley. Each coin exchanged, each whispered bargain, became part of a living archive. Even after the great trading routes faded and power shifted to distant places, the energy of these intercultural meetings lingered. Old market stones remembered footsteps, and forgotten languages slept within corner stalls, waiting to be heard again in curious ears. Some nights, after the lamps dimmed and silence racked the town, echoes of old traders could almost be heard. In the hush, you might imagine the cadence of foreign speech mingling with native lullabies, a reminder that isolation was always only a pause between encounters. The intertwining of trade and language became one of the valley's lasting gifts, an invisible bridge to the wide, waiting world beyond. Though centuries have pulled the currents of influence elsewhere, the story written in this marketplace endures. Ideas, inventions, and traditions carried forth by those who wandered under canvas roofs continue to ripple out, shaping lands beyond the valley. In these stones and stories, possibility proved stronger than distance. The region remains a testament to the power of shared words, exchanged dreams, and the timeless dance of curiosity and connection. Chapter 4. The Meeting of the Empires. Across rolling plains and winding rivers, powerful empires met and shaped the future in ways both fierce and subtle. Here, on this ancient crossroads, great armies marched and diplomats traded words as valuable as gold, each group hoping to carve their mark into history. In this place, borders were drawn, erased and drawn again, changes still echoing through time. Some empires arrived with shields raised, their banners bright against the sky, seeking dominance over fertile valleys and strategic trade routes. Others came with gifts and clever promises, looking for partnerships that might tip the balance of power. Their encounters were marked not just by battles, but by negotiations, marriages, and rare alliances that bridged languages and customs, weaving fragile unity from threads of ambition and need. The air was thick with expectation as dignitaries and warriors gathered in bustling market towns, their differences clear in speech and style. Words echoed through grand halls, ancient prayers mingled with new tongues. Sometimes fierce rivalries sparked clashes that set the world watching. Other times, old enemies discovered common ground, blending their dreams into unlikely partnerships, shaping destinies together, if only for a fleeting moment. Trade flourished along these contested routes, with rare silks, spices, and ideas flowing as easily as coins and promises. Cultural exchange bloomed where suspicion slowly gave way to curiosity. As maps were redrawn and borders shifted, artists and scholars borrowed from one another, blending traditions into new forms. This fusion gave rise to unique music, art, and philosophy that turned the region into a vibrant tapestry of shared wisdom. Yet the peace was always fragile, threatened by the ambitions of new rulers and distant empires hoping to sway the tide. Unrest simmered beneath grand celebrations, where dancers and poets performed for crowds uncertain of tomorrow. Each empire, determined to shine brighter than the rest, was both builder and disruptor. In the shadows of palaces and camps, alliances faltered, and whispers of betrayal drifted through the night air. Surprisingly, even in times of chaos, legends tell of great rulers who reached across divides, seeking not just conquest but understanding. These moments of vision were rare but powerful, a shared festival, a peace treaty sealed with gifts, exchanges of knowledge among scientists and historians. Their efforts sparked brief eras where the region glimmered with hope, lighting the path for generations to come. The very landscape became a silent witness to the turning tides ruins of ancient cities, toppled statues, and the faded carvings of forgotten treaties. Over time, what began as division and rivalry left behind a legacy of connection. Even centuries later, echoes of these fusions are found in languages, foods, and rituals that remain unique to the region, reminders that history is rarely one-sided or easily forgotten. Wandering through these storied lands today, one still senses the weight of ancient encounters. Riverbanks where emissaries once met, marketplaces layered with centuries of trade, and silent fortresses that once watched over restless frontiers. The distinctive blend of influences tells a story larger than any single empire, a story of people adapting, surviving, and sometimes thriving in the crossroads of ambition and culture. Historians still debate the true extent of this region's influence during its brightest hour. Some argue that it nearly became the heart of civilization itself before tides shifted elsewhere. For a brief moment, its blend of ideas offered new models of government, creative thinking, and technological advancement that shaped distant lands. Though its glory was fleeting, its mark on the world stage was deep and unmistakable. As the chapter closes, remember the empires that clashed and conspired here, leaving behind more than scars and ruins. Their fleeting unity, creative genius, and sometimes uneasy peace offered the world glimpses of what might have been. In these crossroads, history teaches us that greatness often flickers brightest where worlds meet and mingle, and that even lost centers still shape the story we live today. Chapter 5. A Flourishing Heartbeat. For a shining moment in history, the crossroads was alive with an intricate blend of ideas, artistry, and purpose. Soft morning light filtered into ancient workshops as artisans shaped metal and clay, their hands moving with quiet mastery. The gentle hum of creation mingled with distant song, weaving a tapestry of daily life that felt both timeless and new. Here, possibility seemed endless. Temples rose above bustling plazas, their columns carved with stories that stretched across generations. Priests and scholars studied drifting scrolls, translating wisdom from distant lands into new forms. Every corner of the crossroads seemed to pulse with discovery. The scent of incense and fresh bread floated on the air as people moved purposefully between labours and rituals. Beneath this thriving surface, the heartbeat of progress was unmistakable. Within sunlit amphitheatres, the city gathered to witness dramas and dances, the performers celebrating legends old and new. Applause flowed like warm rain. Evenings shimmered as musicians struck gentle strings, inviting all to join in quiet celebration. During festivals, laughter echoed beneath starlit skies, weaving strangers together in the glow of shared joy. These moments stitched together the spirit of the community, nourishing both mind and soul. While artisans spun clay and hammered bronze, children darted through narrow lanes, their voices light with curiosity. Nobles and merchants met in vibrant markets where silks, spices, and inventions changed hands. Each transaction was more than commerce. It was an exchange of dreams and knowledge. Under the watchful eyes of elders, the crossroads flourished as a living library, collecting the stories and craftsmanship of many lands. In this era, innovation bloomed beside tradition. Wise elders taught apprentices secrets of dye and ink, while visionaries mapped stars with polished bronze tools. The city's woven streets became rivers of invention and collaboration. Stone-carved fountains shimmered in courtyards, offering water and reflection. Each passing afternoon left behind small miracles, new words, new melodies, and new ways for neighbours to understand the vast world around them. The temples did more than honour old gods. They served as libraries and shelters for lost travellers, with philosophers pondering the balance between change and memory. An evening hush would fall, broken only by the rhythm of prayers and quiet debate. The glow of lanterns revealed scholars hunched over maps and scrolls, searching for meaning in shifting lines and ink-stained margins. Knowledge thrived in this patient, luminous atmosphere. Even the city walls became canvases for beauty and invention. Artisans carved reliefs of daily joys, banquets, harvests, and reunions so future generations would remember. Voices rang out in the forum, where poets and orators exchanged ideas under wide marble arches. Debates flowed gently like nearby streams, everyone encouraged to listen and dream. This spirited openness became the heartbeat of the crossroads, binding the people in understanding and hope. At dusk, shadows lent quiet magic to winding streets. Families gathered beneath olive trees, sharing stories and simple meals. Lamps glowed in workshop windows as the last crafts of the day were finished. Outside amphitheatres, children replayed heroic tales, enraptured by imagined worlds. The sense of belonging ran deep here, felt in every gesture of kindness, every shared loaf, and each lesson offered freely between generations. Trade and culture wove together in perfect harmony. Caravans arrived with new wonders, while local inventors offered their own creations in bustling squares. The energy was gentle yet purposeful, a subtle current guiding each person forward. As dusk settled, music drifted near the city gates, welcoming travellers into the fold. In these fleeting hours, the crossroads felt limitless, alive with potential and the gentle certainty of joined destinies. Though history would one day carry the heart of the world elsewhere, in this moment, the crossroads pulsed with life. Its people shaped ideals from dust and dream, building a sanctuary of wisdom, artistry, and laughter. The legacy of their flourishing lived on in stories exchanged around fires and in the quiet pride of ancient stones. Here, for a precious span, the world's heartbeat was gentle and brilliantly alive. Chapter 6. Currents Shifting. As the chapter opens, faint breezes begin to ripple through the once calm landscapes. There is a sense that change lies just beyond the horizon, subtle at first, yet unmistakable. Once thriving trade routes, smoothed by centuries of passage, now seem less reliable. Merchants pause more often, watching the skies, as strange weather and unfamiliar whispers drift on the wind. The feeling is quiet, but grows with every uncertain pause. Across the great rivers and mountain passes, old maps become less dependable. New routes, riskier and less certain, begin to tempt those searching for fortune or safety. Powerful neighbours, friendly or distant, begin to move with greater purpose. Their ambitions mingle with restless climates, turning the stability of previous generations into something more fragile. Even the trees and fields seem to listen, sensing the shifting rhythm that stirs just beneath the surface. In the great cities, the changes are whispered in market stalls and echoed within stone halls. Once, the region's pathways dictated the world's flow of ideas, riches, and belief. But now, those who once arrived with gifts and respect bring instead guarded words and uncertain news. It is as if the very air shivers with anticipation, tense between what has been and whatever comes next. In the evening, the sunsets linger, heavy with unspoken questions. For generations, the region basked in the glow of its unrivaled preeminence. Now, shadows creep across familiar landscapes as distant powers grow in strength. Caravans that once arrived in steady rhythm start to dwindle. Elders recall vivid memories of golden days, their voices quiet but edged with worry, as younger faces look to unfamiliar stars for guidance. Even the familiar sounds of the city seem softer somehow, as if holding their breath. Winds of change disturb not only the tradesmen and rulers, but the smallest details of daily life. Riverbanks erode differently, harvests arrive a little later, and even the colours of dawn seem subtly shifted. These are quiet signs, easy to overlook yet impossible to ignore for those who watch closely. The fabric of certainty, once woven so tightly, begins to loosen at the edges. Uncertainty drifts into conversations like morning mist. Merchants once boasted of overflowing markets and unmatched prosperity, but new obstacles challenge every journey. Words of caution pass quietly from one caravan leader to another. Stories surface of unfamiliar leaders to the north or south, voices rising with new authority and ambition. The region's influence, once as certain as sunrise, now feels threatened by the slow, relentless pull of unfamiliar tides. Old alliances no longer hold quite the same weight. Even the oldest temples stand quietly, their stone worn smooth by centuries of reverence. Pilgrims from distant lands arrive in smaller numbers, their offerings less generous, prayers more urgent. The wise pause in their rituals, noticing that climate and fortune shift without warning. Unanswered questions echo between sacred walls, as those who remember the old ways grow more guarded with their wisdom. Uncertainty is no longer just a rumor. Beneath the beautiful, fading scenes, a subtle sadness settles in. Children growing up in this new era hear stories from elders that sound almost like legends. Their laughter dances on the twilight air, but carries a faint note of longing for golden days they'll never know. Neighbours gather quietly under crescent moons, speaking in hushed tones about what the seasons will bring. The land's grandeur is still visible, but its future feels veiled in mist. Diplomats and ambassadors cross borders with less confidence than before, their journeys marked by caution. The treaties that once promised protection are now discussed more in hope than in certainty. Trade winds change course, and riches bypass familiar ports, seeking safer or newer havens. Each day the region's prominence fades a fraction more, its story quietly altered by the relentless march of new powers. The world listens, but not as intently as before. Change sweeps slowly but steadily, the weight of history settling into silence. The region stands at a crossroads, where every echo of the past meets the hush of an uncertain future. Those who call it home hold tight to memories, even as the world's gaze shifts elsewhere. In the closing light, the beauty lingers, bittersweet. The sense of foreboding quietly endures, leaving questions drifting on the evening breeze, waiting for the dawn. Chapter 7. The Gradual Eclipse. As dawn breaks over the faded crossroads, echoes of distant empires linger in the cool morning air. Once this place pulsed with energy, caravans, merchants and travellers weaving a tapestry of cultures. Now the silence feels heavier, as if the world's great conversation has moved elsewhere. Yet life hums on in quieter rhythms, tethered by memories that cling to worn stones and familiar routines. Villagers awaken to a gentle calm that settles through empty streets, a far cry from the bustling frenzy that shaped their ancestors' days. Market stalls open in habitual fashion, their goods modest and crafted by local hands. To rest a comfort in this predictability, a resilience that has outlasted the shifting tides of fortune. Though the world's gaze has drifted, these small rituals help anchor the community to something lasting and true. Within quiet courtyards, stories are shared beside crackling fires, their words carrying the weight of generations. The elders recall glories from sunlit days when strangers and scholars mingled under open skies. Now, such gatherings are fewer. The youth listen with curiosity and skepticism, their imaginations caught between nostalgia and reality. Still, the telling goes on, shaping the fading grandeur into lessons for those willing to remember. Old networks of trade and knowledge, once vessels of connection, now lie quietly frayed at the edges. Routes mapped in memory grow faint, replaced by narrower horizons. Letters, once abundant, arrive only rarely, bearing news that feels ever more distant. Yet, amid the isolation, new forms of closeness emerge among the villagers, a shared reliance and understanding born from decline, binding hearts in unexpected ways. Traditions endure as anchors in uncertain currents. Festivals mark the seasons, even if attendance dwindles. Songs and dances, inherited from ancestors, echo softly through nearly empty halls. Master craftsmen keep old skills alive with patient hands, teaching their craft to anyone eager to carry it forward. In these rituals, hopelinga saw quiet defiance against the slow obscurity thickening around the settlement. Nature's quiet reclaiming becomes more visible each season. Weeds press through cobblestones once worn smooth by countless feet. Stray animals wander through silent plazas, finding refuge where crowds once gathered. The village's boundaries blur gently into surrounding forests and fields. This merging with the landscape offers comfort and a kind of peace, even as it marks the world's slow, forgetting of what was once a vital place. The elders sense the eclipse most keenly, feeling themselves as living links to fading days. Their memories serve as hidden bridges to a vanished era, their wisdom rooted in hard-earned experiences. As they age, urgency grows to pass these stories on, to ensure that meaning survives the passing of crowns and trade routes. In hushed voices, they guide the next generation, hoping someone will keep the light alive. Children play among ruins as if born to mystery, their laughter mingling with the whisper of wind through broken archways. They invent games among the remnants, imagining lost glories, unknowable to them but shining somehow in their eyes. Through them, fragments of the old world find new forms of wonder. Though the crossroads recede into quiet, the promise of renewal dances quietly in the footsteps of youth. Night approaches quietly, shadows blending the ancient with the everyday. Households gather together, closing the doors on a world now smaller but no less dear. Meals are shared, and prayers offered for fortunes both past and present. The sense of isolation is tempered by gratitude for bonds that endure, for stories unforgotten, for the simple continuation of life even as the wider world moves on. As the stars emerge over the quiet village, their cold light falls upon roofs and stones steeped in centuries of change. While history's tides have turned away, the crossroads endures through the resilience of those who remain. In obscurity, there is a kind of honest-eye life lived close to the land and to each other, traditions held like small candles in encroaching dusk. A final, lingering note as the world drifts onward. Chapter 8. Remnants and Remembrance. In the shifting twilight of centuries, those drawn to these lands often became chroniclers instead of conquerors. They wandered among moss-laden stones and broken columns, their imaginations kindled by the whispers of the past. Sometimes their pens described the truth, other times they spun legends from fragments. Each account left behind a unique echo, tangled with wonder and memory, shaping stories for generations anew. Crumbling statues and ancient roads bore witness as new travellers mapped the old world onto their own dreams. Some saw vanished empires as lost Edens, weaving tales of grandeur that blurred fact and fancy. Diaries and sketches captured only glimpses, moments caught between curiosity and nostalgia. Over time, what was real and what was myth merged quietly together, pulling future generations into a world that was at once familiar and strange. With each century, the act of looking back created as much as it revealed. Written records faded, yet the hunger for connection endured. Pilgrims, poets, and seekers projected their own desires onto ruined walls and forgotten altars. In scattered villages, elders retold old glories, weaving them into everyday life. Memory became a tapestry, added to with every retelling, in threads both vivid and faint, never quite the same twice. The remnants of this former centre no longer quite belonged to those who built them. Story half understood, often revised, made the stones speak in new voices. Historians and hopeful adventurers sifted through relics, piecing together grand narratives or humble reflections. Some findings inspired awe, others quiet grief for what had been lost. Across distant lands, echoes of these tales travelled further than the stones themselves, shaping a history remembered and imagined alike. As borders shifted and centuries passed, the landscape itself became layered with meaning. Blossoming wildflowers covered mosaics once trod by emperors. Trees took root among toppled arches. Each visitor took away a story, filtered through personal longing and the needs of the present. Sometimes that meant forgetting the truth in favour of a good legend. Other times, a single shard of pottery could rekindle 100 years of forgotten memory. Travellers who arrived with guidebooks and sketches often left with more questions than answers. The silence of fallen monuments made space for speculation. Was this truly a lost capital, or just a crossroads for dreams? Even the smallest relic a coin, a carved stone felt weighted with possibility. Mysterious ruins invited new interpretations from each generation, memory and myth, looping together until the land's true story slipped quietly just out of reach. Remembrance itself became as precious as the relics once held in palaces. Some chroniclers painted word pictures of sunlit courts and shadowed halls, immortalizing what was seen and what was yearned for. Their stories drifted across libraries and marketplaces, sometimes growing richer in the retelling, sometimes fading into gentle rumour. Where the original world ended and its legend began became harder to trace, fading softly into shared imagination. Villagers and scholars alike clung to fragments of carved pillar, a half-buried road as if holding the past in their hands might keep it from disappearing. Yet, as generations moved forward, each rebuilt the meaning of what remained. Childhood games played among ruins wove new stories alongside old ones. Festivals recalled distant rulers with songs that changed from year to year, memory becoming a living force, shaped quietly with every passing season. Sometimes, outsiders lamented what once stood, longing for a time they never knew. But locals forged their own remembrances, valuing stories that brought comfort or pride. The relics became signposts for hope or caution, never merely silent witnesses. Slowly, the act of remembering became an art. Where histories were uncertain, memories filled in the gaps and times flawed, always heartfelt, carrying the soul of the vanished centre forward into each new dawn. And so, the region remained alive not just in stones, but in the minds and hearts of those who wandered through it. Every account, no matter how fleeting or fanciful, added another layer to the story. In time, it mattered less whether the memory matched the reality. What survived was a sense of wonder and enduring invitation to look back, to imagine, and to remember a place that almost changed the world's centre forever. Chapter 9. Whispers in the Soil. At the edge of a gentle hillside, archaeologists step quietly onto dew-soaked grass. Their tools rest beside them, silent partners in careful work. Each movement feels deliberate and respectful, for beneath their feet lies a story waiting to wake. As the morning mist drifts across the landscape, only hushed voices and the subtle scrape of earth break the calm. Discovery begins in the trowels gently lift layers of time, each grain of soil holding its own hidden secrets. The archaeologists exchange soft words, tuned by years of seeking and patience. Nearby, a local farmer observes with interest. For generations, his family has wandered these fields, never guessing what slumbers just below. Together, expert and resident stand, curiosity uniting them as fragments are revealed pieces of pottery, weathered bone, and whispers of forgotten hands. Every stone unearthed holds its own memory, shaped by those who once called this place home. There is no rush here, just steady hands removing the past from the present. The land welcomes this gentle attention, as old boundaries blur between what is lost and what is found. In these quiet encounters, something shifts, a shared respect between those unearthing and the earth itself. Preservation becomes an act of gratitude, not just discovery. As artifacts are brushed clean, their surfaces glimmer softly under the muted sun. Each piece, no matter how small, is handled with care and quiet awe. The team documents every detail, sketching, measuring, and recording before returning the earth to calm. Nearby, local children peer curiously from the stone wall, stories of their ancestors echoing in their minds. The landscape, once overlooked, is honoured anew through gentle understanding. Hours pass as soil gives up its secrets. Pottery shards, beads, ancient blades, and charred seeds speak softly of daily life once lived here. The archaeologists discuss their findings in thoughtful tones, building new knowledge from old bones. Their voices carry across the fields, rippling through grass and flowering hedgerow. Each item carefully wrapped and stored is a link across time, connecting those present to those long departed. A sense of reverence lingers, as if the land approves of being remembered. The rhythm of gentle excavation blends with the songs of returning birds overhead. Evening arrives, casting golden light on careful hands and open notebooks. New understanding grows quietly between fragments, words, and glances. The team begins to sense not just what this place once was, but why it mattered. Another layer of mystery softly revealed. Later, in the cool of dusk, locals gather beside the dig to hear what has emerged from beneath their feet. Stories are exchanged, some modern, some as old as the stones themselves. The archaeologists describe their discoveries with humility, careful not to disturb the natural hush that has settled. In the glow of lanterns, faces reflect wonder and recognition. The past feels close, part of every field and pathway once more. Careful preservation work continues as fragments are stabilized and documented. Each artifact is given a new home, safeguarded for future generations to study and remember. The local museum welcomes these unexpected treasures with quiet pride, grateful for the patience and skill shown by those who unearthed them. The fields, gently restored, bear subtle marks of what has been revealed. A silent promise to honor history. Whispers in the soil grow into voices, carried by those listening now. Knowledge deepens with every story, shared archaeologists, locals, historians and children, weaving meanings from stone and earth. The present and the past settle alongside each other, each enriching the other with gentle understanding. The world feels wider somehow, as if a doorway has opened to a centre once forgotten but never truly lost. As night falls across the tranquil fields, stars appear above ancient hills, illuminating the secrets just uncovered below. The final notes of the day are soft and thoughtful. Fresh insights linger, waiting for new eyes to discover their own meaning among old stones. Whispers in the soil continue, promising that even here, at the quiet margins of history, the world's story keeps growing, a gentle invitation to listen and remember. Chapter 10. Crossroads Reimagined. Picture a world gently reshaped by history's subtle hand. Here, at this ancient crossroads, we pause and wonder, what if this place remained the beating heart of the world's story? As mists rise across forgotten pathways, let's reflect together on the possibilities that once drifted just out of reach, lingering like echoes in the cool air of dawn. Fate turns quietly, and so do we. Imagine for a moment trade routes weaving relentlessly through this land, voices and languages mixing, destinies colliding. Had luck or conquest favoured this crossroads, empires would have ebbed and flowed, but always returned here. This gentle persistence might have anchored alliances, fostered a tapestry of unity, or kindled sparks of innovation. How might our maps and our hearts have looked if the world's compass pointed always to this nexus? We sit now with the weight of choices not made, doors that never opened, cities that never grew beyond their first stone. The world's magnificent puzzle could have turned on a quiet afternoon, shifting fate toward this place, inviting poets, thinkers and travellers from every distant kingdom. In the silence between history's turning pages, imagine the lives lived here, changed by one gentle nudge in time's river. Listen. Can you hear the echo of imagined footsteps on ancient roads? The hum of commerce filling the air, negotiations whispered at dusk. If this crossroads was crowned the centre, its customs, languages and inventions could have rippled outward, shaping every future city. Pause with me and feel the hush, the slender chance that connects our present to worlds that glimmered just beyond reality's grasp. Under gathering clouds, imagine a meeting of sages beneath lantern light, new philosophies rising like the morning sun, shared across continents from this very stone. Friendships and rivalries, inventions and traditions, each thread woven with care, forming a fabric richer for its varied origins. Journeying together, let's linger in the possible, sensing the warmth and wonder of what could have been, just beyond the horizon. Imagine scrolls and stories travelling relentless miles, gathering insight and wisdom at these crossroads. A centre not just of trade, but of curiosity and creativity, quietly guiding the world's tides of knowledge. Pause to wonder, who would we be if our foundations were set here? What flavours, melodies or dreams might have flourished, altering what we cherish as timeless or inevitable in our own age? See with gentle eyes, a map redrawn, mountains and rivers remembered differently because the heart of the world pulsed right here. Would great cities rise upon these fields, crowned with languages unknown to us now? Might alliances blossom where we once imagined only borders and divides? In the hush, we feel the weight of dreams unchosen and celebrate the beauty of mysteries left unresolved by time. As stars wheel quietly overhead, traditions unfold around shared fires at this crossroads, festivals of light and song, echoing through centuries. Imagine a calendar shaped by these moments, marking history's march with celebrations rooted in this fertile nexus. Might this collective memory have led humanity down gentler paths, inviting understanding, compassion and surprise as guiding stars for all who pass through? Every fork in the world's history brings silent questions. Was the choosing of this place a matter of fortune, fate, or folly? We look gently across its stones and fields, pondering the silent harmony and unknown symphonies that might have spun from its heart. For every story that could have begun here, we feel the delicate shiver of possibility, wondering how different our shared tomorrow might have become. Now, as we leave this chapter, hold close the sense of wonder born at crossroads, both real and reimagined. The world, forever shaped by chance and choice, invites us to see with softer eyes and dream of other centres, quietly waiting in the folds of history. Let the gentle weight of these possibilities inspire your own journey onward, reminding us that every step carves new paths through the mist and into the dawn. Chapter 11. The Lesson in the Lull. As we journey into this reflective chapter, let's pause to consider what stories linger in silence, and what lessons endure long after the echoes fade. The rise and fall of a region's influence reveal not just the power of history's hand, but also the quiet wisdom found in pause and transition. Join in this meditation on time's delicate balance between change and remembrance. The currents of cultural memory shape civilizations in ways we rarely notice. In this lull, where noise recedes and momentum pauses, the region's true legacy emerges. It is here that myths are sifted from memories, and resilience glimmers in uncertainty. The ever-shifting centre of the world reminds us that greatness can both dazzle and dissolve, leaving behind seeds for growth and renewal, even as the past slips quietly into the mist. Impermanence is a silent architect, forever rearranging the landscapes of influence. As we reflect on this region's story, notice how the unpredictable winds of fortune sculpt new possibilities with every era. Ruins become landmarks, and forgotten roads carve paths to tomorrow's understanding. In contemplating these shifts, we discover that our own hopes and dreams are linked to the quiet, steady pulse of human endeavour across the ages. To witness the ebb and flow of power is to witness a lesson in humility. The world's attention turns, then turns away, leaving echoes behind. In these moments of lull, communities fortify themselves and adapt, carving identity from absence as much as from presence. The lesson emerges softly, nothing remains at the centre forever. But each turn of history leaves a mark subtle, but often profound for those willing to listen. Within stillness lies the possibility for deep renewal. This chapter invites us to appreciate the resilience born in the face of impermanence. Where grandeur once reigned, silence now gathers wisdom. People learn to remember and reimagine, drawing strength not from continuous glory, but from the courage to begin anew. The region's lull, far from being an end, becomes a quiet starting point for stories whose echoes shape futures unseen. The fabric of cultural memory is woven from both triumph and disappearance. What is celebrated today may be forgotten tomorrow, yet the lessons linger beneath the surface, whispering guidance to those who pay attention. Through calm reflection, we see how the unpredictable forces of fate steer not just societies, but also the very notion of what endures, urging us to embrace change with gentle resolve and an open heart. Consider how stories survive long after monuments crumble. Each lull in attention is also a chance for healing. The memories that persist are not always those shouted from rooftops, but the ones carried quietly in everyday lives. In the stillness, communities collect their scattered memories, choosing which to nurture and which to let gently fade. And through this, culture continues quiet, but unbroken by the vagaries of history. To contemplate the trajectory of this region is to confront the reality that influence is never permanent. What once seemed inevitable now rests in fragile balance, a reminder that all centres shift with time. Yet within these ongoing transitions lies an invitation to honour what has been, to make peace with what is lost, and to find courage in the space between endings and new beginnings. This reflective lull teaches us to cherish the present moment. Time's wheel keeps turning, indifferent to old boundaries and vanished crowns. The lesson in the lull is not just about what slips away, but what remains fertile in its wake. New stories take root in soil left fallow by former empires. Wisdom grows where history pauses. By embracing this flow, we let go of certainty and learn to navigate the world with humility, curiosity, and hope for what tomorrow could bring. As we close this meditation on impermanence and resilience, let the lesson of the lull echo gently within you. The shifting centre of the world reminds us that history is a living memory, shaped by both grandeur and silence. Each pause offers space for reflection and renewal. Carry forward the understanding that all stories, even those nearly forgotten, enrich the future, guiding us quietly into the uncertain, ever-changing landscape that lies ahead. Chapter 12. The Crossroads Within Us. As our journey draws to a gentle close, we gather at the crossroads, both real and imagined, that linger deep within each of us. These silent junctions, hidden by the rush of daily life, remain unchanged, patiently waiting for our return. Tonight, we pause to listen to their whispered stories, lessons left behind by those who travelled before, echoing through the mist in the ancient valley. In the hush of dawn, the crossroads seem almost timeless, stretching across memory and myth. Here, forgotten places and overlooked moments form the quiet foundation of what has come after. Every path tells of choices unmade and futures that faded softly into the past. As the world stirs, we sense invisible threads binding moments and places, inviting us to rediscover a peace once thought lost among shadows and mist. Soft mist curls above the valley floor, parting gently as the first light glimmers against ancient stone. In this peaceful silence, we remember the weight of unspoken stories carried on the breeze, memories of crossroads, their significance woven into every movement of history. Even as the world hurried onward, these old places quietly rooted us, holding together times long forgotten, giving strength to those willing to listen in the stillness. The crossroads within us call for reflection. Each step we take, each small decision, echoes through lives and lands unseen. Forgotten moments, sometimes a shared glance or a lone footprint, can gently shape the world in ways we may never know. In the calm embrace of the valley, we sense how history's great tides often ride on the smallest of streams, carrying the past forward beneath ancient skies. Ancient stones rest quietly beneath our feet, silent witnesses to countless gatherings, partings, and reunions. Their presence offers comfort, a quiet reminder that every ending contains traces of a new beginning. As we breathe in the misty air, it is as if voices from centuries past speak of patience, urging us not to overlook the subtle crossroads guiding our journey even when they vanish into silence once more. There is a gentle magic at these crossroads, a steady pulse of possibility beneath the everyday world. The valley's hush invites us to notice what was nearly forgotten. Here, time slows, and we become aware of choices left unexplored, futures never realized. In embracing the stillness, we honor both what has faded and what now grows, welcoming the quiet wisdom that lingers in forgotten corners of our lives. As the sun climbs higher, mist slips away, revealing the ancient valley in clear golden light. What was hidden now stands revealed. The crossroads remain, transformed by each story that passed through. For a moment, we see history layered beneath the present, a gentle reminder that neglected places and moments can be the silent architects of change. In this calm, all paths seem to lead home. We carry the crossroads within us, quietly influencing each step toward the future. Surrounded by the valley's peace, old questions gently dissolve, leaving space for new hopes to take root. The echoes of the past blend softly into today's breeze, reminding us that, even as roads diverge, the wisdom of forgotten places continues to guide our hearts, ever patient and ever present beneath the world's unfolding story. Let us linger together in the quiet, just a moment longer as the mist fully clears. The crossroads invite gratitude for life's overlooked passages, the gentle reassurance that every story, however small, has left its mark. As we watch the valley open before us, we recognize the unbroken connection between yesterday and tomorrow, and find peace in knowing the paths we choose matter, even when no one is watching. As our tale closes, the ancient valley stands tranquil beneath the rising sooner witness to crossroads passed by and crossroads yet to come. The air is calm, filled with a sense of rediscovery and gentle promise. In honouring forgotten places and moments, we rediscover ourselves, finding comfort in the quiet foundations shaping our lives. May peace attend your journey, wherever your crossroads may lead you next.